Good morning, my children. Today we're going to begin talking about reading. If you're good at it and you like it, you can probably nod off for a little while. On the other hand, if you're not good at it and you don't like it, you should probably listen as if your life depended on it, or at least as if your hopes and dreams depended on it. Here's the deal. After the Second World War, you could get a good job and make a good life for your family without ever having to read a word. Germany and Japan were devastated. Most of the rest of Europe and Asia weren't much better. Our cities were untouched. Our manufacturing base was stronger than ever. We were the only game in town, and we thought it would last forever. It didn't. The rest of the world recovered, and the costs of manufacturing in the United States, that is, the good wages that allowed Americans to get good jobs and make good lives for their families without ever having to read a word, meant we were no longer competitive. As a result, heavy industry pretty much disappeared over the course of the next generation. Light industry held out for another generation. Only those jobs weren't as good, and they didn't allow people who had them to provide as good a life for their families. In time, through free trade and globalization, even those jobs went away. The stuff we bought was cheaper than ever, but it was harder and harder to afford to buy it. Don't get me wrong, there were still really good jobs in the United States. Really good jobs. They just required one of two things. You had to be really good at math, or you had to be really good at dealing with information. Know what being really good at dealing with information depends on? Yep, being really good at reading. You can't get a college degree without reading a lot. And if you find a college that will give you one, your degree won't be worth the paper it's printed on, because alums who have come before you will already have screwed their jobs up 6 ways from Sunday. 2 countervailing points. First, you can get a good job without a college degree. If you don't believe me, try paying a plumber or an electrician. Second, there are really good reasons for getting a college degree that have nothing to do with money. Although we're pretty good at covering up the reason we exist, colleges are in business to broaden minds and to pass along our intellectual heritage. Rebuttal to those 2 countervailing points. First, if you're not here to broaden your mind and to take in as much of our intellectual heritage as you can, you're here for the $1 million that, over the course of a working lifetime, you can earn as a result of a college degree. Second, if you're here for the money and you're not willing to read, you're roadkill already. Go to the business office and ask for your money back. Go be plumbers or electricians. Those fine jobs, and they pay really well. But don't go be plumbers and electricians saddled with debt from a degree they never earned because they wouldn't read. Of course, there is an option. Read. Get better at it. If you're not willing to read, there's really nothing any of us can do to help you. If you're not good at reading, but are willing to work to get better, then we can help you go as far as your hopes and dreams will take you. But only you can make that call. Now, if you're still with me, and not physically here, but mentally already in the business office, I have one simple piece of advice to offer. Don't read assignments.
But I thought you said we'd never get a degree if we didn't read our assignments.
Good grasshopper! You're listening! You're halfway there already. Don't read assignments. Read sections of assignments. If you open the book that we're going to be using in class to the beginning of the introduction, you're going to see this at the top of the page. Introduction, Atom 2. If you turn the page, you're going to see another heading. The Shrewd Animal. If you turn another page, you're going to see a third heading. The Plan. If in your life until now you have never yet paid attention to a heading, it's no surprise that you don't like reading. For that's a whole lot like trying to play football without having a clue what the calls mean. So let me revise my first piece of advice slightly. Pay attention to the headings. Before you begin, try to figure out from the heading what the passage is going to be about. If you see Introduction, Atom 2, you need to ask yourself immediately, what the heck is Atom 2? If you don't, you're just running around the football field looking dumb. Here's my second piece of advice, and there are only 3. Pay attention to the topic sentences. For those of you who got out of high school without having learned this, the first sentence of a paragraph is the most important, for it states the topic. In theory, the other sentences support the claim made in the first sentence. They're important, yes, but if you don't know what they're supporting, you're simply drowning in information. So put on your life vest first. Pay attention to the topic sentences.
If we do that with the first section of the text, let's see what we get. Recently, I've been thinking about the difference between the resume virtues and the eulogy virtues. Most of us would say that the eulogy virtues are more important than the resume virtues, but I confess that for long stretches of my life, I've spent more time thinking about the latter than the former.
Okay, let's make sure we're not just passing our eyes over all the words. There are resume virtues, and there are eulogy virtues. Eulogy virtues are more important. However, the writer, and presumably the rest of us, act as if resume virtues were more important. And that brings me to my third and final piece of advice.
Stop at the end of a heading and make sure you know what it says.
And that's just what we did. Okay, nothing hard in that heading. Let's go on.
One book that has helped me think about these two sets of virtues is Lonely Man of Faith, which was written by Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik in 1965. Modernizing Soloveitchik's categories a bit, we could say that Adam 1 is the career-oriented, ambitious side of our nature. Adam 2 is the internal Adam. While Adam 1 wants to conquer the world, Adam 2 wants to obey a calling to serve the world. Soloveitchik argued that we live in contradiction between these two Adams.
Some guy with a really long last name says that we're all two different people. Sometimes we're Adam 1. That part of us wants to be rich and famous. Sometimes we're Adam 2. That part of us wants to be good. Adam 1 and Adam 2 fight a lot.
The hard part of this confrontation, I'd add, is that Adams 1 and 2 live by two different logics. Adam 2 lives by an inverse logic. To nurture your Adam 1 career, it makes sense to cultivate your strengths.
Okay, I'm missing something. They work by different logics, and the second logic is the opposite of the first. Boy, that's helpful. When you run into a situation like this, Grasshopper, read the second sentence too.
The hard part of this confrontation, I'd add, is that Adams 1 and 2 live by two different logics. Adam 1, the creating, building, discovering Adam, lives by a straightforward utilitarian logic. Adam 2 lives by an inverse logic. It's a moral logic, not an economic one. To nurture your Adam 1 career, it makes sense to cultivate your strengths. To nurture your Adam 2 moral core, it is necessary to confront your weaknesses.
Mystery solved. Adam 1 thinks in terms of economics. Adam 2 thinks in terms of morality. Adam 1 cultivates strengths. Adam 2 confronts weaknesses. So let's try this on the next section. The shrewd animal. Which Adam do you think that is?
We live in a culture that nurtures Adam 1, the external Adam, and neglects Adam 2. If you are only Adam 1, you turn into a shrewd animal, a crafty, self-preserving creature who is adept at playing the game and who turns everything into a game. This book is about Adam 2. It's about how some people have cultivated strong character. I was born with a natural disposition toward shallowness. I've discovered that without a rigorous focus on the Adam 2 side of our nature, it is easy to slip into a self-satisfied moral mediocrity. I wrote this book not sure I could follow the road to character, but I wanted at least to know what the road looks like and how other people have trodden it.
The shrewd animal is a player. Just a player. Brooks's book is about how to be more than just a player. Good grasshopper! Shall we go on to the plan? Wonder what that's about.
The plan of this book is simple. In the next chapter, I will describe an older moral ecology. Then I will describe what this character-building method looks like in real life. I'm going to do this through biographical essays, which are also moral essays. This truth was hammered home to me after I wrote a column expressing frustration with how hard it is to use the classroom experience to learn how to be good. Those words explain the methodology of this book. In the final chapter, I wrap these themes up.
Okay, he's going to start with a chapter on how people used to go about becoming a good person. Then he's going to show that at work in the lives of a bunch of people. Finally, he's going to wrap things up. But there are still a few things that aren't clear.
This truth was hammered home to me. What truth? Let's look at the last sentence of the previous paragraph. Moral improvement occurs most reliably when the heart is warmed, when we come into contact with people we admire and love, and we consciously and unconsciously bend our lives to mimic theirs. Oh, that truth. We don't learn how to live good lives from books. We learn how to live good lives from good people. Explains why he's writing biographical essays, I guess. That's probably what he means by the methodology of this book.
Only the section isn't over. What comes after the final chapter?
Occasionally, even today, you come across certain people who seem to possess an impressive inner cohesion. Sometimes you don't even notice these people, because while they're kind and cheerful, they are also reserved. They radiate a sort of moral joy. They make you feel funnier and smarter when you speak with them. They have not led lives of conflict-free tranquility, but have struggled toward maturity. These are the people who have built a strong inner character, who have achieved a certain depth.
What comes after the final chapter? The book in a nutshell. People like this are Adam too in flesh and blood. This is what you should be reading for in every chapter from here on. Now that wasn't that hard, was it? That was a 7-page reading assignment, and we went through it like poop through a goose because we followed our 3 simple rules.
We paid attention to the headings. We paid attention to the topic sentences. We stopped at the end of each heading and made sure we knew what it said.
How's about you do that on your own next time,